Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. Welcome to Ar-Rahmah Trust short reminders, where we will be taking you on a journey with us in providing mercy for those in need. You'll get to know the importance of charity, when is the best time to give in charity, and more importantly, what are the rewards associated for giving in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the most important ingredient when it comes to doing righteous actions solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, and this is something we need to begin with right now, is making sure we have the correct intention. The Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, "Innamal a'malu binniyat wa innama likulli imrin ma nawa." That actions are judged by their intentions, and you will only get that what you intended. So it's very important that we see these actions that we do solely for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, that they are accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, because the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam stated that the first three people to be taken to task on the Day of Judgment will be those people who are perceived to be doing righteous acts in society. So you had the person who fought and he strived in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. You had the other person who was a scholar who dedicated his life in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala also, and third person you had was a person who dedicated his wealth, or he gave his wealth in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to charity. However, none of these deeds were accepted. Why? Because they didn't have the intention for the sake of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So the scholars state that one subtle indication to demonstrate whether or not our actions may be accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is when we see a subtle change in our behavior after we have completed certain actions. So for example, when scholars talk about Hajj, they say when a person comes back from Hajj, you will see a certain change in their behavior. This could be a subtle indication that their Hajj has been accepted. Or after the month of Ramadan, when we have exerted ourselves in the path of Allah, when we have fasted, we have stood up in the Qiyam, and we have fasted Siyam, the Messenger sallallahu alaihi wasallam also told us about the great reward. But how do we know it's accepted? The scholars say that after Ramadan, up until the next Ramadan, you see a change in your behavior. And finally, when it comes to giving in the path of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if you're involved in charity, if you give in the path of Allah, then the scholars state also that whilst you are involved in these actions, you will see that you are becoming more religious, you are becoming more spiritual, your religiosity increases, you are beginning to pray on time, and you're doing all those other things that are accepted by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So to conclude, an important aspect of participating in charity work is to ensure that all our actions are solely done for the pleasure of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We look forward to sharing with you more beneficial advice in our next video. Please share, like and subscribe to our Rahmah Trust channel by clicking on the link below, and continue to join us on this journey in providing mercy for those in need.